Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's David Milan. I'm an HR professional working in Australia. Today I wanted to talk to you about how I keep track of books that I'm reading, and more importantly, how I keep track of the things that I've learnt from the books that I've read. So today I'm going to be covering my setup in Notion, how I make highlights and notes using the Kindle, how I use the Goodnotes app on my iPad Pro, how I bring them together, and then at the end, I'll just go through a quick recall and reflect section, which is basically a high-level summary of everything I'm covering in this video. So if you want to skip ahead, there's timestamps in the description, and it's also on the screen at the moment as well. Recently, I've been trying to get better at taking notes on books that I'm reading. I read a great article on Nat Eliason's website called How to Take Smart Notes, which was based on a book by the same name written by Sony E. So I'll include a link in the description to both the article and the book. It talks about the importance of making notes with your highlights. So highlighting by itself often adds little value. You'll come back to your highlights days or weeks or months later, and you won't have any context or explanation for why you made the highlight. Why was it important? A different way, one that I'm finding a lot of benefit in, based on the article and the book, is to make notes with your highlights and to try and link them to other things that you're reading or things that you can apply in your life, and to give yourself context as to why you made that highlight. So the article and the book have inspired a lot of what I'll be showing in the video today, and I'll include a link in the description to both the book and to the article as well. So my workflow starts with Notion. I have a readings page built in here under my resources page. I'm not going to be going into a lot of detail on how to build things in Notion. I recommend that you have a look at Marie Poulin's YouTube channel and her website. She's put out an incredible series of videos on how to build things in Notion, and she has a course as well. So I'll include a link in the description to both her YouTube channel and to her website. One of the great things about Notion is that it gives you different ways of looking at the same table. So you can really bring out different insights based on views that you're using. So at the moment, this view is showing all of the books that I've put into Notion. I can also look at books that I read last year in 2019, and also look at books that I've read this year in 2020. And I'm doing that through the use of views for the same table. So I'll show you how to create a view. I'll just delete 2019 view here, and I'll show you how easy it is to create a view based on your overall table, based on your overall database. So if you click on add a view, and I'll call this 2019, I'm going to set it up as a table view. There's different options for views that you can set up based on the same data. So I'll click on create, and this will bring up all of the books that I've read, and then I'll add a filter for this view to show only books that I've read in 2019. So then now the view will filter to show only books that I've read in 2019, which I've recorded in this section of the database, of the table, in 2019. So you can see here I have year read, author, non-fiction, fiction, and rating all set up as select properties. So the property in Notion, when you're building a table, a database, you get the option to pick different properties. If you pick the select property, which I've done here, it enables you to look at things using the board view, which I'll show you how that works. So if at the moment I'm looking at all books, if I click on board view here, it will bring things up according to the select properties that I've inputted. So at the moment, this view is showing non-fiction versus fiction books. If I click here and click on group by, I can click on rating. This will now bring up books according to ratings. And so I'll be able to see all of my 5-star books, 4-star books, 3, 2, etc. So once I've finished a book and I'm ready to start a new book, I'll click on my unread view and have a look at any books that I've added to my Notion readings database. And I'll click on, for example, Let My People Go Surfing. If I want to read that book, I'll then click on year read and click 2020, which will then add it to my 2020 view. At the top here, I've got a properties section where I can include the day that I started the book, and then also include the day that I finished the book as well. I like to keep track of how long it takes me to read a book. I find that if I try to stick to, starting and finishing a book within 2 weeks, that's a habit that helps me to stop procrastinating and makes me prioritize reading over other things. As I'm reading, I'll generally be reading in my Kindle, and so I'll make highlights. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to get better at making notes with my highlights. And so I'll include brief notes of why I've highlighted something. How can I apply this in my life? What is it linked to? So that in the future, I can understand why I made the highlight. So the Kindle interface for recording notes is not the best. It lends itself to short notes. The experience is obviously better in the Kindle app, both on the iPhone and the iPad, but I prefer to read things on the Kindle. So I've also just started a notebook in Goodnotes, which I use to record notes as well on what I'm reading. So anytime that I'm making a highlight, if I have access to my iPad, I'll also make a note and try to reference the location or the page and why I was making that highlight. So once I've finished my book, I'll export a PDF copy of my Kindle highlights and notes, and then I'll export a PDF copy of my Goodnotes notes, and I'll save both of those PDFs into the Notion page that I set up for the book. So I've got everything in one place, which makes it really helpful, really useful for when I'm writing a book review. So I've created a book review template in Notion. I record the book in one sentence, 5 big ideas, what stood out to me, things that I thought were of interest, the key takeaway for me in my life, how can I apply what I've read, and then you'll see here I've got 2 embed blocks for Kindle and Goodnotes. So this is an example of a completed book review. This is a book that I read earlier in the year. Book in one sentence, 5 big ideas, what stood out to me, and then at the end, key takeaway for me in my life. And as you can see here, I've got my PDF notes exported from Kindle and also my PDF exported from Goodnotes. So having everything in the one place makes it really easy to reference when I'm writing a book review, or also in the future, if I want to go back and reflect on what I read, what did I learn, it's all in the one place. So I read recently that in order for people to truly learn something, they need to be given the opportunity to recall and reflect on what they've learnt. And so I thought I'd just do a quick summary of what I've shown in the video now. So as I mentioned, my workflow starts in Notion. I'll then go to my readings page and have a look at any books that I've added that I want to read. I'll then download them to my Kindle and read the book, making highlights as I go. What I'm really trying to focus on and get better at is when I'm making a highlight, I record a note as to why I made that highlight. What was the context? Why did I highlight this thing? Why did I think it was important? I'll do that either in the Kindle itself, or I'll do that in my Goodnotes app on my iPad Pro. Once I've finished those notes, I'll export both of them to PDF, and then I'll add them to my book review page, and I'll write the book in one sentence, 5 things that stood out to me, and the key takeaway for me in my life. So I've got it all there in the one place, ready to reference in the future. So I'm really passionate about systems and how we can use them to help us learn and keep track of things. I think Notion is a fantastic system. It's something that I wish I had access to in university, high school, and even primary school. If you have any questions, please drop me a line in the comments. I hope this video has been helpful and that you've learned something from it. Thanks for watching.